So, John Nadler,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, Jim. Good, Jim. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. So,
Great.
John is my guinea pig for my first in a series of probably what is one interviews, chatting to interesting people doing interesting things, and that's what it's all about, I guess. So, John, I've known for a little while, but he's up to something really interesting which we're involved with at the moment. And I thought, John, it'd be interesting to know who are you and how you got to this point in a minute max. So let's hear what you've
God,
got.
in a minute. Bloody hell. Okay, so yeah, I'm John Nadler. I, I work in cannabis. I worked in cannabis for 18 months, and before I worked in cannabis, I did a fairly mundane task in running creative agencies and strategic businesses. I exited my last company in 2017 and made a decision that after 10, 12 years, whatever it was, of running agencies, I would take the cash out and look around at what else is interesting in the world. And I decided that a combination of passion that I have for business, along with passion that I have for cannabis, um, together is pretty potent. So saw an opportunity for a product range to come into the UK market beginning of 2018. So I developed a few cannabis oils with some European partners, brought it to market, realized after a few months I needed some cash, started going around town, found a very rare fund dedicated to investing in cannabis businesses. And after a few conversations, the conversation had developed beyond just an investment into the business that I started, and decided that I would take a management role, which is now turned into a partner role within the fund, where I invest in, or help the fund invest, should I say, in technology orientated businesses in the cannabis space around Europe. I also sold my oils company to the fund, and in the last few weeks, with the help of Threepipe, we've launched a market in another venture that the fund founded, the first CBD snack bar. So it's quite varied, but it's all in the cannabis space.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it seems to me that there's a lot of buzz about CBD at the moment, especially in food and drink. A lot of the brand managers I'm sort of speaking to are very aware of this new trend coming through, and the big conglomerates, the Coca-Colas, the Unilevers, the P&Gs,
Yeah.
they're all looking at this seriously, aren't they?
I mean, look, this market hasn't even started properly yet, and even though that's the case, you've got the largest operators like Constellation Drinks and Coca-Cola, as you mentioned, and lots of others that are either invested already or looking to invest in the very near future. And the reason they're doing that is because they recognise that CBD in particular, which is the non-psychoactive, non-intoxicating part of the plant, they realise that that is more than just an ingredient fad, that it actually has good therapeutic benefit that will change the face of food and drink as we know it. If you're in the industry with your ear to the ground, what you hear a lot is that in the next couple of years, we are all going to be drinking drinks and eating food with cannabis in it. And it will just be a normal thing for us. But we're hitting a wave. There's a shift towards mood food. People are really starting to understand that when you consume something, it doesn't just have an impact on your body, but it actually has an impact on your mind. And at the kind of epicenter of that movement, you find cannabis, which first and foremost has an effect on the balance in your brain. And then secondary to that also has a way to give you kind of harmony in the rest of your body. So it's a powerful ingredient. We're up against lots of regulations. The EU level novel food regulation is certainly an area that is concerning the industry. The reality of it is that we've had 80, 90 years of prohibition, and we're currently in this grey spot where it's businesses like Coca-Cola that love being in this position because they get to move the industry forward at rapid pace and become market leaders within whatever they do. But that grey spot means that we're on that cusp where you've got regulators that are trying their hardest to catch up with population's demand. It would take another probably 18 months, 2 years to sort itself out properly, so that there's real calmness in the industry, and people know that they can come to market with a new food or a new drink format, which doesn't have to be overly concerned with regulators knocking on the door 2 weeks later. But we're innovators.
That's great. So I saw you commenting on a LinkedIn post, I think this week, where someone had been talking about food they bought in Vegas or something with a huge amount of CBD in it, and they'd been buzzing for 3 days. And it was interesting, your feedback. I think whether you were calling for self-regulation or regulation generally in the amount of sort of safe levels of CBD in foods. I was going to talk to you about that today because I wasn't quite sure if you were looking for external regulation or, as I say, more self-regulation.
Yeah. Look, it's hard not to be active on things like LinkedIn because there's so much going on, that you just want to comment on stuff like this. But yeah, there's certain subjects that I see as very, very serious. We have a situation where certain countries are becoming legal for recreational purposes. This isn't just CBD, this is THC, the stuff that has got psychoactive and intoxicating qualities to it. For example, Canada, the first G7 country to go legal recreationally in October last year. That's a huge, huge thing. Anyone above a certain age can walk into a dispensary in Canada and buy cannabis that gets you high. So if you're passionate about the industry, you don't want to see the curve stop. And when you see that there's people making product with very, very high dosage of THC, the cannabinoid that gets you high, then you need to be really concerned, because what you don't want to happen is people consuming edibles, chocolates, snack bars, drinks that have got too high levels in it, far too high for consumption, and as a consequence it has a negative impact on the industry. So I think it's down to the industry to help regulate. The problem is that regulators are thin on the ground. They're moving at rapid pace to try and keep up with what's going on, but the reality is that the industry needs to handhold them. So one of my big things over the next couple of years is going to be, how do we come up with product types that are sensible for the market, and how do we ensure that we're working as closely as we possibly can with regulators so that these products kind of get rubber stamped as gold standards, very open, transparent supply chains, and all those other things that come with it that just help guarantee that there's a safeguard for the industry growth.
Yeah, it's really interesting. From an agency perspective, we're seeing quite a few briefs now come our way, which, I don't know if we're behind the curve, but I'd say over the last sort of 6 weeks, we've had 3 separate CBD briefs come in. And interestingly, a lot of it is Canadian money or American money coming in with product development. And obviously you're working for a Canadian fund. How big is this opportunity, I guess not just globally, but more in the UK, and how much investment is really coming into this market at the moment? How much product development
Yeah.
really happening,
Yeah.
and our consumers ready for it, I guess,
Yeah.
from an
Yeah.
education perspective.
Yeah. Well, so firstly, it's not a Canadian fund, so it's a UK fund. There are some investors. It's mainly family and friends though. There's 25 different investors. Some of those investors are based in the US and Canada, but mainly it's family and friends and owned by the guys that founded it in the UK. But the money coming in is significant. You know, you've got mature markets like the US and Canada where they've got multi-billion-dollar valuations and they've been raising money on public markets for the last couple of years. So their cash balance is phenomenal. And they look across the pond and they look at Europe as 480 million population, and they see it as the biggest opportunity globally.
Right.
And rightly so. It is definitely that. So there's tons of products coming into the country, formulations that have been built out from the US or Canada over the last couple of years, and they will be flooding the market over here, and it will become one of those areas of industry where the deeper your pockets, the more chance you've got of success. And what you'll probably see is lots of collaborations between companies like Unilever and P&G with some of the operators that are a bit more advanced and expert in the area of cannabinoid food types.
Yeah.
But again, regulatory frameworks are going to have a lot to play in all of this. If regulations change and are negative in favour of industry growth, then you'll see it kind of climb as fast as it possibly can, and then suddenly drop down for a few months until regulations sort themselves out. And no one wants to see that. So we're kind of still in limbo, but the Canadians are bullish, and as you were mentioning before, those large operations like Coca-Cola and people like Unilever and P&G, they're really going to change the landscape in the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to see people bringing in CBD water into the office, which they picked up at various nightclubs around Chelsea, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's becoming that sort of trendy premium thing because people are intrigued by it. I went into a juice bar in Soho recently. Was offered it in a sort of a regular juice, and I think there was quite surprised by that. And I think there's a huge amount of education generally, isn't there, still to do amongst the wider sort of population, really.
Yeah. It's crazy, So you've helped us launch Neuro, which is the first UK CBD snack bar, and we launched Plant Organic last week. We did sampling in all of their stores the whole of last week, and it's, by the way, it's the best snack bar launch they've seen in 10 years, which goes to say a lot about CBD generally. But what we took away from the sampling is that, and being in the industry, we know what CBD is, and we're used to talking about it. But the majority of consumers were coming in saying, "What is CBD? What is CBD?" And it's a conversation that we obviously love to have, but we want to try and elevate it away from that as quickly as we possibly can. One of the reasons why we came up with the snack bar is actually because the market's flooded with oils, and these over-the-counter oils in 10 ml tincture brown bottles that you get in chemists. And our whole perspective on it is, for this to really keep going, this industry to keep growing, you have to come up with a way to normalize CBD as an ingredient type. So for us, snack bars is the first way in to do that. And I think the more that we can just make it feel like it's just another ingredient, and the more that we can just get the education up to speed as quickly as possible, the better the industry is going to be for it, because then we can start to have better conversations about mind health more generally, as opposed to actually what is CBD, cannabidiol, and how does it work inside of our bodies? That's kind of like it's in the weeds.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an education required, but the pace of education, we hope, with things like the snack bar will help further it much quicker.
And how have Planet Organic been? I mean, obviously they're your launch partner into the UK. I presume you spoke to other retailers as well, independents and more multiples. And just generally, how are the buyers' own knowledge about the opportunity? And also, have you come across much resistance from that?
No, not Planet Organic. Planet Organic are the perfect partner because they really support CBD. They're a great organisation. They sent half their buying team across to the States a few months ago for the food and drink event over there, where CBD was the standout trend. And for us, we're pretty much flying that flag in the UK. We're trying to continue that ripple over from the US into the UK market, but they're all massive advocates. And they're one of the top sellers of CBD products in the UK. But other retailers are interested also. Since we launched, we're getting both independent and also chains contacting us and saying, how long does your exclusivity last for? How do we go about ordering? Who are your distributors? So there's a real eagerness for retailers to be selling these products. And I think that anyone that's got doubts, that those doubts are fading really, really quickly, especially if you're a retailer in the health world.
Yeah, and because it's not a cheap product, is it? I mean, it's at the premium end of the snack bar range. And I guess people are willing to pay that premium because they understand the benefits, or they're intrigued about the benefits, or because it's how much it's expensive, right?
It's the most expensive snack bar in the fixture in Planet Organic, £2.95 for a 45-gram bar. It's got cannabis in it. It pushes the price up, and what we've done is we've mixed cannabis with nootropics, which again have cognitive function qualities, benefits to them, and it's those kind of bed fillers that help the product be as good as it is. So it's expensive. People don't mind paying that price, especially in London. It's not unusual to find a coffee for £3.50, or to find a raw vegan bar or ball at Till Point for around £3. So it's a premium price point, and I'm sure it will drop over time. But right now we're happy with the way that we've pitched it, and also the type of people that we want to consume our product at this point. They get it, and they're happy to pay that price for this type of product because they understand what it's going to do for them. So and the conversations with the multiples, that they're not happening yet. We will be in with them, hopefully by the end of the year, probably early next year. And at that point, clearly we'll have to go deep on promotion a couple of times across the period. But we aren't fussed about that at the moment. It's just about getting product in hand for the people that really want it. So
is there a hesitancy on your part from a sort of how you can provide the volume required to fulfill that multiple demand, or are they concerned about the ability to fulfill that demand too? Because how many stores does Planet Organic have? 10, 11 stores, I guess, or
it's only 7.
7 stores. So you can meet that demand. Whereas, are you able to step up in production?
Oh yeah. So that the whole way we've structured our business is to ensure that we can just meet demand. So we're well backed. We're actually just going through our next round of funding, and I was at an event over the weekend. It was a cannabis event, so it really well put together event in a club in Bethnal Green, which is dedicated to it's like a members club for cannabis, and the industry are all talking about us. We're like we're at the very top of the industry. We kind of guide where the industry goes, and the rest of the market when it comes to CBD products, they're doing a fantastic job, but they're producing topicals on small scale and oils at small scale. And there are a couple of players that are coming up with interesting products like the hemp water that you mentioned, and a few other beverages that are just coming to market now. But we're the ones that are leading the march. So yeah.
So what's next in the next 6 months? What are the plans? This is your final question on this inaugural interview, John. What's obviously you're very busy, but what's the next 6 months hold? And I guess what's the bigger picture over the next couple of years for you, really?
Yeah, so we've got aggressive plans for rolling out the snack bar. So you'll find us in every health food shop in the next couple of months. We will be in the supermarkets by the end of the year or early next year. We're going to have a range of probably a dozen different flavors within this particular product range by probably middle of next year. But then the business generally, the fund that I work within, we're building the infrastructure for the European market. So the CBD division is actually the only one which goes into food and beverage. Everything else we do is around how we facilitate the growth of the medical cannabis world. So we see ourselves continuing that journey over the next couple of years and continuing to be the leader at the forefront of this industry. And I think it's very difficult in this industry because it's so nascent, but things change every couple of months. But I think 2 years forward from now, cannabis will be normalized. So if for medical purposes you need cannabis for different conditions, you'll be able to go to your doctor, your GP, and you'll be able to get a prescription for medical cannabis and then go through the normal route through a pharmacy to fulfill that prescription. And I think that we will be underpinning lots of that infrastructure. And then from a consumer side, on the CBD side of things, you'll go into supermarkets and you'll see numerous CBD products from well-known groups like Unilever and P&G, but also new groups that are just specialised on CBD product ranges like us. So I think you can expect to see a population that understands what cannabis is and the different elements within cannabis like CBD and THC, and you'll see people consuming it on a day-to-day basis completely normally.
Is there a trade body that is going to represent people like yourselves, other organisations that can lobby effectively with government and other stakeholders? Is that happening? Is there a grounds for that coming together? Or does it already exist?
Yeah. It exists. There's groups out there. There's some groups that are doing it for small brands, CBD brands, trying to fight for them. And there are other lobby groups that are working for the industry on the medical side of things as well. And everyone's trying to align as best they can. The industry does talk to each other. It's not like you do it one way, we do it another. We are trying our hardest to come together as an industry. It is still quite a small industry to operate within. And I think that it will only get stronger over the next couple of years. That government will set up groups to ensure that this is done in the right way, and you'll also see medical groups structure in such a way that at CCG level or trust level, you'll have people in operation to govern the way things are done.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for your time. Absolutely fascinating discussion. Everyone go and buy a Neuro bar from Planet Organic. They actually taste great as well.
How about that?
Okay, mate. Well, see you soon. And thanks again.
Cheers, Jim. Take care.